This boy is driving a race car that his father modified using scrap parts. He keeps failing but keeps trying. Now, he plans to participate in a racing competition. But the owner of the racing shop saw him and laughed, because Mike's car isn't even fit for the track. The car has 3 tires of different sizes. The owner lent them new tires. This is Mike's first time entering a race. Racing competitions have a lot of complex rules. When getting in the car, you must press the brake all the way down with your left foot. You can't touch the engine with your hands. If you need to use the bathroom, you must raise your hand to signal. At that moment, 2 other racers passed by. They revved their engines wildly in front of Mike. Mike was scared when he saw this. He told Mike to go ahead and race. Mike's father and girlfriend were cheering him on from the sidelines. This is Mike's first race, and he can't be afraid. Mike put on his helmet, and immediately pressed the gas pedal all the way down. It was his first time stepping on the gas. Mike couldn't keep the car balanced. He wasn't used to this car, and he wasn't familiar with the track either. But his father was watching from the side, enjoying the moment. He didn't know that Mike was terrified. Mike gripped the steering wheel with all his strength. But now, the tires were sliding to the right. The car wasn't responding to him. His father thought Mike was just too excited. But the racing shop owner noticed something was wrong, because Mike was the first one to start. But now he was being overtaken by the other racers. In just a few seconds, Mike could no longer see the other cars' rear ends. But it wasn't that Mike's skills were poor. When Mike turned the corner, he almost went off the track. He hadn't noticed that when turning, the front tire of his car had lifted off the ground. The safety officer told Mike to get out of the car immediately. At that point, the other racers had already passed him by 1 lap. They were mocking Mike, telling him to go home. Jack knew this was all his fault, because he used unwanted parts to build the car for Mike. That's why he was being mocked now. But Mike didn't blame his father. He looked at the front right tire, which was still hanging in the air, and gripped the steering wheel tightly. He no longer cared about the car's issues. Everyone else couldn't understand Mike's actions, but Mike only wanted to pass the other racers. Mike now needed to find a way to solve the problem. Since only one front tire was touching the ground, he had to speed up. The steering wheel would spin uncontrollably. Mike was panicking. He wanted to use his hands to straighten the steering wheel, but that was impossible. At that moment, Mike figured it out. He began to turn the steering wheel, but by this time, the other racers had already passed him by 2 laps. Mike refused to give up. He kept shaking the steering wheel, trying to straighten the car. He found the right angle. As long as the steering wheel stayed in that position, his car wouldn't wobble anymore. Then Mike pressed the gas again. This was how he could catch up with the other racers. But now Mike had another problem. His car was tilted, so he couldn't floor the gas pedal. Everyone thought Mike would lose for sure. They didn't understand why he was still racing. The racing shop owner saw that Mike was now going much faster. When he entered the turn, Mike used all his strength, clamped the fuel tank with his knees, and adjusted his posture. He floored the gas pedal. As he entered the turn, everyone thought it was dangerous. The car hadn't turned yet, and he was about to go off the track. But Mike thought he hadn't floored the gas pedal yet. He had to give it his all. Everyone watching was stunned. They didn't understand how Mike was doing it. Why was he going so fast? And the gas pedal was completely floored? Now Mike had to take another turn. He showed them his drifting technique again. Not slowing down in a turn was the hallmark of a champion. When Mike was driving in a straight line, his car was tilted. But before it turned, he would angle the car, release half the gas, and slam the brakes as he turned. This would make the right front tire touch the ground. Finally, he floored the gas again to take the turn. At that moment, Carl suddenly noticed a woman nearby. Mary was the national karting champion. She knew that if Mike continued like this, he would still be passed by the other racers. But Mike wouldn't give up.